Alright, so this video is going to be about why there's going to be a Final Fantasy XIII-3. Of course, this assumption is formed from my own opinions and observations, but nonetheless, tag along with me as I explain why I think they'll have to make a full-fledged game. There's no better place than the ending to start talking about my argument. But before even explaining anything even further, I know that there's supposed to be DLC coming for Final Fantasy XIII-2, but that doesn't mean a thing at the moment, and I'll explain why later on in this video. Moving along to my first thing I'd like to talk about is Sarah's death. It's often rare, though not impossible, that we find a main character die in a Final Fantasy game. So what are they going to do with her? It's unlikely they'll leave her dead. It wouldn't make sense to kill her off. Here's the second and one of the most intriguing things in a Final Fantasy game. To be continued. Square Enix said they put that in because they were going to make DLC for the game, which they're doing, and most of the DLCs are fun, but something is odd about it. But moving on. The third and last thing that's actually in the game that hints that there will be a third game is the secret ending. Caius is alive and has a motive, and his plan has worked. So what am I getting at? Like I said earlier, it's the DLC. Do you honestly think that everything that I just discussed can be taken care of, for example, in just 3 separate DLCs? It's almost impossible. Think about it. Sarah's dead, lightning's crystallized, the world just turned into Valhalla, Caius isn't dead, and is free to do what he wants, and there's so much more. Saz and Snow have been barely touched upon in this game, and it really hasn't explained what was going on with them through all this, and it never explains where Snow is after he leaves, and where Saz is going to go next. Fang and Vanille are rescued from the tower in the end, but since they made an appearance in Final Fantasy XIII-2, it's very likely something is going to be done with those characters. Even the DLCs themselves have not explained anything after the ending of the game, only before, so what's going to happen? The point is, all this content is more than enough for another entire game. And as an afterthought, they registered the domain name for Final Fantasy XIII-3 as a quote-unquote precautionary measure. I mean, I'm doing this video kind of early to tell anything, because the Lightning DLC isn't even out yet, where it explains her story that goes along during the game. But all of this is just too much to just say that it will be taken care of in DLC. Anyway, that's what I think, but do you agree with me? Thanks for watching, everybody.